think the main reason why I selected this class was just because I wanted to prepare myself for college. I wanted a class that's going to be at a level where I'm going to be ready for college.
It's not much one of those classes that you can go on Spark Notes and just expect that to help you, because the quizzes that you're going to get or the AP multiple choice tests you're going to take are so much more in depth. Like, you have to read the book, and it's fun to read the books because you're in all of these discussions.
Probably the most memorable assignment was we had a group project for King Lear, where each group had their own motif to look over. So for an example, we analyzed the animal motif in the book. So it was just really cool just to, analyze a certain aspect of the book and really concentrate on one aspect of it.
Definitely the discussions, because it's not just your symbols, motifs that we talk about, it's like the theories that go behind the author writing it, or what do you think happened in this scene versus like somebody else's opinion on what happened.
There's not a lot of homework, but there's certain assignments that are worth a lot of points. So you got to prepare yourself by reading the book, making sure you know what the book's about, making sure you know the material, making sure you're discussing in class, and then performing on whether it's the tests, the essays, etc., the discussions. You got to be on your game.
The in-class essays is definitely a challenging aspect, but I mean, it prepares you for college and definitely the AP test at the end, so it's helpful.
If you want to really feel like you're prepared last year of high school going into college, definitely consider taking this class. If you really enjoy reading, take this class, because we get to read a lot, we get to talk about a lot of things, and if you love group discussions, take this class. It's really great.
I feel like in argument and debate, we have a lot of opportunities to just look at a lot of current events that you're interested in, and I kind of enjoy that because I feel like you're keeping up with stuff you're interested in, which is always a good thing.
A few skills I'd say I pick up. Well, first I think I've picked up some confidence and some speaking ability, because going into the class I was kind of shaky on my speaking ability, but now because we've been doing it so much, I feel like I'm a much stronger speaker, and I guess that's the main skill, just a belief in yourself that you can get up there and know what you're talking about and have a very strong debate.
Well, one of the biggest things I'm going to take away or already have taken away is the ability to articulate what I want to say in a more efficient manner. Because before debate, I would just go on and on about the same thing, but debates help me shorten my thoughts and make them actually while still meaning the same amount of force behind it, but it's shorter and it's easier to listen to.
A typical day or week in debate starts off with you probably getting assigned an assignment that's due on Friday, and we go over some things to stress for the debate, and then you kind of work on it on your own in class, so there's not a whole lot of homework, and then by the end of the week people are starting to debate and whatnot.
Definitely the first debate is definitely a little bit nerve-wracking, but I feel like as you get more practice, I feel like you definitely get better at it.
Really cares about his students, and he really gives you a lot of good points for how to debate and how to be a stronger debater and how to be a stronger public speaker. So he really helps contribute to how fun the course is.
Well, I love the class rivalries we've developed. There's a couple kids that are like to butt heads when they're debating, and it's really fun to see the class get really involved into that, because that's kind of a fun atmosphere, because it's all in fun. It's no one's actually angry at each other, but it's the rivalries really spark excitement in the class, and it makes for really interesting debates.
I don't know, I would say it's a pretty positive environment. I think everyone kind of gets excited to see other people debate and what happens, and especially when there's a really good debate, you can tell they prepped really well. I think people actually enjoy listening to it.
They should take debate class because it's a lot of fun and you argue about things that you actually care about.
I'd always heard the Bible through Sunday school and church, and so I wanted a different perspective on it, and it turned out to be really interesting and rewarding.
I've always wanted to learn more about the Bible, and I've never really had a chance to do it regularly, so I've just decided to sign up and make it kind of a extracurricular.
We usually get to class, and we get either a worksheet or we talk about what we're going to do, and we usually have a small reading that we do in class with discussion and the worksheet, so we kind of follow this worksheet, and talk about it at certain points, and then we'll either get reading for homework, or if we have extra time, we can do the reading in class.
All you really need to do is comprehend what you're reading, what passages and verses you're reading in the Bible, and just recall that information.
It's like a welcoming but very like serious environment at the same time. Like all opinions and thoughts are respected if you say it, but it's also like get your work done, but we are still here to have a fun time.
Take it seriously. It's a regular literature class. It's not something to goof off in.
I think one of the biggest challenges is actually understanding and comprehending the text, because a lot of the times there'll be a lot of figurative language or a lot of metaphors, and just to understand what that means in literature and not as like a faith thing is very different from what you've been told, and so just understanding the text is a huge adjustment. I would say come in with an open mind, because even if you have been told one thing, this class will also tell you a lot of different things about the Bible and faith and everything with that, and so I think having a different perspective is key to enjoy and understand the class.
I would recommend taking Bible literature because not a lot of schools offer it, and it's a really nice class to take. It gives you a lot of roundabout information about society.
I think it's a different class. Like, how often can you take the Bible as literature, especially in a public high school? And so I just think it's very interesting, and it's not a class that you can really take anywhere else.
I signed up because I really wanted to work on my writing skills and kind of fine-tune them before I go to college and when I was writing my college applications and everything.
I enjoy just the atmosphere, just being able to express your ideas in your writing and having freedom to write about a lot of different things, and just it's not a ton of notes or anything, so it's pretty laid back when you're writing. You have a lot of work days that you can work on it, and different types of blogs that we do, which is pretty fun and exciting. And it's not just like notes every day and it kind of just drags you down, but you really have the freedom to think about different things in your writing every day.
So one thing I learned about college prep writing was all the different writing styles I could experience in college, and it really helped me to have a little background knowledge before I did go to college.
Some unique things we do in the class is every Wednesday we have the full period to read a different article, book, newspaper, anything really, and then we write a blog about it. And that's just kind of interesting to me because that gets you reading, which is always good to do, but then you're also putting that into your own words and kind of expressing the writer's style, or just what you learn about it, how you can connect it to your life, and kind of just throw in different ideas about that piece that you read, and that's kind of cool to see.
One of my most memorable was, we had to write a research paper, and it was kind of a lengthy one, like 5 to 7 pages, but it was actually one of my favorite because it was on, I did it on cell phone usage in school, and I thought it was interesting to research more about this topic because it was more relatable to my life.
There is a lot of workload with getting a new paper to write about right after one's over, or even before one is finished, and it's just kind of just keeps going and going, and which, I mean, it keeps you on your toes. So, but it's usually spread out too, and the due dates and things like that.
I would recommend this class to somebody else because it helps fine-tune all your writing skills, and it helps to expose you to all these different writing styles.
I picked creative writing. I actually did it not as like my senior year lit class. I did it as a sophomore because I had an extra period. And creative writing, like stories and poetry and stuff, has always been something I love to do. So I was happy that I had time to do it.
I thought it was a good way to have like some kind of creative outlet like during school, and I feel like writing is just like good to have. Like, even I don't write in a journal or anything, but it was kind of a way to just be able to express myself in a different way, but also kind of get grades for it and like have specific things that I could do.
We had 2 assignments where we got to write short stories. That was probably my favorite because that's always been my favorite thing to do, is make up a story off of like, there wasn't like a prompt or a baseline or even really parameters. You just got to create, which I love. For me, probably the biggest challenge was time management because the assignments weren't necessarily hard. It was just a lot to do as far as like writing a story, writing a collection of poetry, getting it all done was probably my biggest challenge.
I think something that would help you succeed in creative writing is to like not get too frustrated if you have a creative block. Like if you can't think of something, you can obviously ask the teachers. Like sometimes your classmates will have ideas that you never thought of. You could look at like TV shows that you watch, music that you like. Like there's so many different ways that you can come up with ideas. So if you don't come up with something like right away, like don't panic, like you'll be fine.
When I was looking at the course selection sheet for senior year with all the lit electives, it's kind of hard to choose a class off of a couple of sentences. So I chose one that appealed to me, and Discovering Modern Fiction appealed to me because I was more interested about learning about what's going on outside of school instead of being so like literature orientated and based on solely reading. We talk about more than just books.
A normal day in Discovering Modern Fiction, we come in and we usually discuss what we're learning. Our teacher, Ms. Mantagna, gives us a lot of work to do during class so that we don't have a ton of homework. And yeah, it's basically like a discussion class.
She's really good about discovering the literary elements within different stories that we've read.
Every day we come into class and we talk about what we're learning, and we always connect it to what's going on outside of school, or if something interesting is going on, we might set aside some time to talk about current events that's going on.
Well, we did have a short story unit, so we read about 20 different short stories every night, and we would always have worksheets, and then in class we would discuss any questions we had about it or just the story in general. And then once we got into our pop culture unit, which is movies and songs and that kind of stuff, it would be different throughout the day, whether it was projects with other class students or other people in class, or individual worksheets answering questions.
I would recommend this class for someone because it really I feel like I learn a lot in the class. So it's just personally interesting to me, so that's why I would recommend it to someone.
I would recommend it to them if they are interested in finding a lit class that's not like a lit class. And what I mean by that is we're not just focused on books or reading. It's about, like I said, current events or what's going on, and it's really fun and interactive with the students and the teacher.
Throughout my years in high school, I've read a few pieces of British literature, and I enjoyed them a lot. So I thought, why not take a class that just focuses on it solely?
Within the class, we do a lot of annotations, so I think that better annotations are going to carry over, and then we have to summarize a lot of stuff, and that's going to be good for note-taking in the future. And then we have one long-term project for the whole semester, so that helps with time management.
When you'll read something for homework independently, and then when you go into class, she will lay it all out and explain, like she'll ask questions if you have any questions and everything, and then she'll kind of start asking you questions to kind of get you thinking and she'll tell some story probably about like something that you might be familiar with, and then she'll go back in the text and basically lay it all out and say that's basically what's going on here.
It's very manageable. As someone who struggles to keep up with my workload, this is a class where I've been able to keep up, and the workload between class and home, it's very balanced, so you're never overloaded with a ton of classwork or a ton of homework.
This class is really interactive, and I like that a lot, because if you don't understand something, it's not going to be a big deal to ask a question in class, because chances are that a lot of other people didn't understand that part too.
The works we've done are just so different with Beowulf being legitimate Old English, which is another language, and Paradise Lost being written in the 1600s and just like completely different to what we're used to, and it opens us up to these different styles.
Pay attention to class discussions, I would say. That's always a good idea. And kind of keep yourself involved in the class discussions. It's not hard to raise your hand and to keep yourself kind of somewhat involved in the class conversation. And when you do, you take away so much more from it.
There's a lot of reading that you have to do, so make sure that you don't get behind. I mean, if you get behind one day, then it's fine, but don't not read the books, because it's really important to read the books.
Definitely the ability to read and being able to kind of just look deeper into the text and analyze what we've been reading, I think will be very helpful in the future.
I want to be a journalist, and so I've really gotten a handle on the whole journalism process, the interviewing process, how to write a story. Just the overall story package design has been incredibly helpful for me, and I've gotten so much out of the class.
I like how it's student-led, because we have the ability to create the stories that we want to create, and we kind of make our own assignments, which is different from any other LA Lit class that I've been in.
I think I'll remember that this is the class that helped me decide that I want to do when I'm older, because I really want to be a journalist, and I hope that I will be a journalist 10 years from now, and I'll be looking back on all the experience I got from the class.
In Drops of Ink, you're able to pick your assignments and pick the stories that you want to do. So you get to write about stuff or take pictures and do a layout of what interests you. So if you're interested in sports, you have the opportunity to go to sports games and be on the field and really report it like a real journalist would. And if you are more of a layout graphic artist, then you get to work on those skills in top-notch programs like Adobe InDesign and Photoshop and everything. So it's really great that you get the opportunity to do so much on Drops of Ink.
A typical day in Drops of Ink consists of us getting together, creating story ideas, then each of the staffers will work on their own specific story and get it okayed by our advisor, Mr. Gluskin.
I would recommend this class, one, because it's really fun. You get a great experience of journalism and what it is to write, take pictures, and design layout. And it's just really great. You meet a lot of new people from grades maybe you weren't expecting to meet. As a freshman, I wrote a story with a senior, and it was just cool because there's not that division that you have in other classes, and that's what I would say is great about it.
Well, what I enjoy about science fiction is probably the understanding of it, and sort of just learning what the components of the science fiction, how to write it and read it, and what you're kind of looking for in science fiction. And I think Mr. Schmidt gives a good idea of the certain parallels of science fiction and society, which I really like. How the science fiction isn't just a bunch of writing random stuff, but it's mostly influenced by things that are actually happening, and people that are taking this, because it's a very new sort of literature. So taking the certain futuristic components and using old events and making serious parallels, and I think it's just pretty genius.
The type of person I would recommend to take sci-fi is actually anyone who loves reading stories should totally take the class. And if you like reading kind of futuristic stories, that's a plus.
It's never really a dull moment. You're always doing something, you're always moving on in a different section. So you're not bogged down in a section for weeks and weeks and weeks, but you move through the different phases of science fiction, such as robotics, gene mutations. It's just not really a boring class in all. So
we read a lot of short stories in the class, which is better than reading just novels, because I don't know, when you're a kid you have to read the novels and everyone hates reading them, but these short stories are short enough where you are still focused into the story, and you get to read a lot of them and experience all kinds of different sci-fi kind of stories. You can go with dystopian stories, you can read about love stories. There were so many different kind of things that we get to read, which is really nice.
Well, I've always kind of been interested in science fiction, and I've always been interested in science, so I think really utilizing because when I'm reading, I see a lot of these things I've learned. I'm oh, they're using the way that the authors use actual science
and of course twist and turn it to make something really interesting, kind of fascinating. Like, oh, like the fact that you even thought of that's pretty genius. And so that's why I've always had this sort of interest for science fiction, but getting a class to just solely focus on it, I think it's just really, it's fun and it's really interesting to just learn about.
I thought it was something that would definitely benefit me in the future, and a skill that everyone really needs to learn at some point, and you can use it in a lot of different aspects of your life.
People always complain about other classes, like I'm not going to use this skill in life, I'm not going to be doing this algebra, I'm not going to be doing this writing, but in speech class you learn the skill of talking to people in a group of people, and you definitely need that skill throughout your life, whether it be a date, job interview, you'll use it a lot.
Definitely how to connect with people when you're talking, how to come across as formal or informal, and the clarity of your voice.
Speech class puts me in, at first, an uncomfortable situation, but you learn to enjoy it almost. You learn to deal with the stress, you learn what to do under stress, and how to finish the speech off with competency and clarity.
I guess it was more nerve-wracking going into it, kind of like not exactly knowing what to expect, but once I kind of got into it and saw how like everything went, then it was not really nerve-wracking after that.
So far, speech class is an awesome experience. Everyone is very supportive, very open. We're all learning. Everyone is at a different level, and we're all critiquing each other, trying to improve each other's public speaking skills.
I would recommend speech class to someone because speaking in front of a group of people, like I said before, is really important, and it's a really nice life skill to have. It's just talking to someone and holding yourself and carrying yourself. And learning that in high school, I think, would be really beneficial for going to college and meeting new people and carrying on your life with interviews and all those kind of things. Speaking and having a speech class and knowing kind of what you're doing, it'd be beneficial.